sometimes a mentor is not someone that you've been close to day after day. It can be someone that impacted your life simply because of who they were.
Exactly.
At a certain point. Yeah.
Hello, this is Marco Rock. Welcome to Marco Rock TV. I am Marco Rock, your host for Inside a Grammar, where we interview entrepreneurs, game changers for the purpose to inspire and inform you. Today I'm so thrilled for my guest, Dr. Tom Osborne. Dr. Tom, how are you?
Good. It's good to see you.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Tell us, who is Dr. Tom Osborne?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Well, I've worn quite a few hats. A long time ago, I played a little professional football, and then came back, went to graduate school, got into coaching. Didn't really plan to be a coach, but I stayed in coaching for 36 years.
You say you didn't plan to be a coach?
No, I didn't plan. I thought I'd go into college administration work, and that's what I did my graduate work in. And
Okay.
But then I got a job as a graduate assistant football coach while I was in graduate school, and one thing led to another, and I just never got away from it. I spent 36 years in coaching and 25 years as head coach. And then when I got out of coaching, I did a little time in Congress. And then after that, I did some teaching and became athletic director at the university. But right now I spend most of my time with Teammates Mentoring program and do a lot of traveling, recruiting mentors. So that's kind of what I do, and that's, I guess, in a short synopsis, that's kind of what I've done.
So why you and your wife Nancy have decided to co-found Teammate Mentoring?
Well, over all those years of coaching, I saw a lot of changes with our young people, particularly in the family structure. When I started coaching back in the early 1960s, very seldom ran across a young person I was coaching or recruiting that didn't have both biological parents living under the same roof. And time went on, I began to see that change. More and more young guys were with single-parent families, even a few that didn't have either parent, and so the family structure changed. So the advent of the drug culture in the late 60s, early 70s, ended up drug testing our players, and at one time we never would have assumed that that would even be necessary. And then I guess a lot of things have changed with young people in terms of the way they communicate. Used to be a lot of face-to-face, fairly lively interaction on a team bus, team plane, and then it grew kind of silent, and a lot of texting.
Correct.
And so a lot of electronic communication. And as a result, a lot of young people don't have as much what we call emotional intelligence, the ability to understand what another person is feeling. So as a result, we thought, well, there's just a lot of things that are impacting our kids, and some of it not for the better. And so I got up in front of our football team back in 1991, and I asked a question. I said, how many of you guys would be willing to serve as a mentor for a young person, 7th or 8th grade boy, Lincoln Public Schools?
Yes.
22 hands went up. So we went to the public schools, and they gave us 22 7th, 8th grade boys that felt they could use a mentor. And
is that what they had, or because you have 22 mentors, that's why they found 22?
We had 22 players who agreed to be mentors.
I see.
It kind of played itself out, and these kids got to be seniors in high school, and it turned out that of the 22, 21 graduated on time from high school.
Excellent.
And of the 22, 18 went on to college. And from that population, that surprised us. We thought those were fairly significant results. So we expanded the program. We began to mentor boys and girls, and of course didn't have enough football players to mentor large numbers. So we began to use adults primarily as our source of mentors, and the program grew. And so first in Lincoln and then across the state, and currently we're mentoring about 10,200 young people in 163 school districts in Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Wyoming, and South Dakota.
Congratulations.
And, so it's grown quite a bit.
What is the difference between teammate mentoring and other mentoring program out there?
Well, there are lots of varieties of mentoring. There are group mentoring situations where maybe you have one mentor and 4, 5, 6 young people. There are community-based mentoring programs where a young person is mentored by somebody who takes them out into the community, takes them to their home, has them to lunch, whatever. Teammates is a school-based mentoring program. So all of our mentoring occurs in the school, and we do that for a variety of reasons. Probably first and foremost is safety of the mentee and also the mentor. And so to date, we've mentored right at 40,000 young people without a serious negative incident. Also, we find that in school-based mentoring, there are a lot of resources available. So in the course of mentoring a young person, you may find that they lack computer skills, and there's somebody within the school that you can go to. There may be a health issue. You can go to the school nurse. There may be some type of an emotional problem or a traumatic event. You can go to the school counselor. And so there's lots of things that we can refer people to. And so we find that a lot of our mentors appreciate the safety, the security of a school-based setting, and also the convenience, because so often if you're in a community-based program and somebody is going to be mentored over the weekend or in the evening, and you have a wife and children or a husband and children of your own, it takes time away from them. But you can go see somebody over the lunch period or during a homeroom period or during a PE class, and that may be 35, 40, 45, 50 minutes.
Correct.
And most people can do that fairly conveniently. So we're dealing with large numbers of mentors, and we want to make sure that they feel supported and that it is convenient for them.
What are the direct impact Teammate has made on those mentees and in the community that they serve?
Well, we've done a lot of research over the last 12, 14 years. We think data is very important because you don't want to go ask people to be mentors if there's no evidence that it works.
Exactly.
So Gallup followed our matches for 5 years, and they found that in about 80 to 85% of our matches, that attendance improved. And with that, grades improved, graduation rates improved, the percentage of kids going on to college improved. So right now, the graduation rate for teammates, mentees, is 91%, which is much better than the national average. And when you consider that quite a few of our young people are from single-parent families, and quite a few live below the poverty line, 91% is very significant, because you might expect that graduation rate might be in the 70% range from that demographic situation. We do know that a young person with a mentor is about 56% more likely to go on to post-secondary education, some form of college, than someone from a similar circumstance who does not have a mentor. So it certainly improves educational opportunities. But Teammates is not a tutoring program. It's simply building a relationship. And so having somebody who cares about you unconditionally, someone who listens to you, someone who shows up consistently, seems to have a powerful effect on academics as well as emotional issues. We also have found that in about 80 to 85% of the matches, that behavior improves. So less classroom disruption, less substance abuse. And then I guess lastly, what Gallup told us that we had not anticipated was that kids who had a mentor are much more hopeful about the future. I think the thing that causes this to happen is that a mentor can show you the way through where it is possible, no matter what your circumstance might have been, to get a good education, to someday have a decent job, to someday live a good life. And so we're all sometimes trapped by our environment, our previous experience. And if it hasn't included a good education, or maybe somebody in your family having a good job, quite often you grow up expecting pretty much the same result. But a mentor has someone who's had more life experience, has had a chance to view more options,
Exactly.
and can pass that along to the young people. And so hope is very powerful, because if you don't have hope in your life, quite often you fill your life with all the wrong stuff. And so hope is powerful.
I will agree 100%. So as a former head coach, athletic director, you have been in the scene of Nebraska football history. What is one moment that you can recall that you say, wow, I will forever remember this time in Nebraska football history? When of course, you were a coach or an athletic director, yeah.
I suppose if you had to isolate one specific moment, it was after the 1994 football season. We played the University of Miami in January of 1995 in the Orange Bowl. And we'd always had trouble with the University of Miami because we'd played them in bowl games, and we often played them on their home field.
Okay.
And we came out of a cold climate in December and January, played them in heat and humidity.
I imagine.
And so we were able to come from behind in the fourth quarter and beat Miami and win a national championship that year. And so that kind of got the thing off our back, where people were always criticizing, well, we've had a lot of good teams, but you couldn't win the big one.
Who inspired Dr. Tom Osborne?
Well, I was fortunate to have a lot of people that were my mentors. When I was very young, my dad traveled on the road. This is during the Depression. And so he was gone a lot. And my mom was a former school teacher. She invested a lot of time in me and taught me how to read when I was 3 and those kind of things. And then my dad was overseas in World War II for 5 years, and he was a strong influence on my life. Came back, I really didn't know him because he'd been gone for 5 years, and I wanted to please him. Bob Devaney was a coach ahead of me, and I worked for Bob for 11 years, and then he was athletic director for 19 years when I was the coach. So his sense of humor, the way he dealt with people, impacted me. I think most everybody can point to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people that at key times have been important in their life. And probably I should mention one other mentor that I had, and that was my grandfather. My grandfather was somebody I probably was not in his presence more than 6 or 7 times. But he had accomplished a lot. He had gone to college when hardly anybody went to college. He became a person with a very strong spiritual background, became a minister, and was in the state legislature. And I looked up to him, and he was killed by lightning when I was 9. But I always admired who he was, what he'd done. And so from afar and from the distant past, I think his memory kind of reached out to me and impacted me over the years. And so sometimes a mentor is not someone that you've been close to day after day. It can be someone that impacted your life simply because of who they were
Exactly.
at a certain point. Yeah.
If you had the power to make one positive change in the world, what would that be?
Well, it'd be nice to have, wouldn't it? I think it would be to make sure that every young person came from a caring, stable family with two parents. Because I see what's going on around us today, and the biggest threat right now to this country and to a lot of countries is what's happening to our young people, and the fact that they're not given the nurturance, the stability in their lives to make good decisions, to pull things off. And so no great civilization is ever more than one generation away from a serious decline if the young people can't pull it off. And so right now we have a lot of dysfunction among our young people. I don't want to be terribly negative, because we have a lot of great young people. We have a lot of young people who are doing very well.
What would be your last word advice to my audience?
Well, I guess I don't know if this is terribly profound, but I would certainly like people to consider being mentors, because most people think, well, if I'm going to be a mentor, that I'm giving something of myself to a mentee. And so that's kind of a sacrifice on my part. But, we're not just mentoring 10,000 young people. We're also providing something of importance to 10,000 mentors. And the thing that so many mentors will tell you, they'll say, I think I get as much or more out of this than my mentee. So I asked a number of mentors, I said, well, what do you mean when you say that? When you do something for somebody who on the surface, by appearance, can't do anything for you in return, it adds a dimension of meaning and purpose to your life that you will not get in any other way. And so often people think, well, I will become happier, my life will be more fulfilled if I accumulate, if I get more wealth, if I have more clothes or more vacations, more pleasure in my life. But I don't think, if you think about it, I don't think that's the key. The key is in serving and in doing something for somebody, particularly somebody who can't do something for you in return. And I think our mentors really benefit from that. So I'd like to have people think about doing something for somebody else that can't do anything for them in return.
Dr. Osborne, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.